back for our Heart of the High Plains series. I'm Princess Brian, and today I am joined with Wild West Wildlife Rehabilitation Center, Stephanie. Thank you for joining me today.
Absolutely.
So, first, let's talk about the center. When did it start in the community?
It started in 2016. I moved here in 2015
Yeah.
and just thought I would do a few dozen animals or a few hundred animals for my home over the course of a year, like I've done in the past while raising my kiddos. And it quickly grew into something much bigger and very much needed in our community.
And why did you see that need in the community? What made you want to jumpstart this?
Because I didn't want to look like a hoarder. Okay, because I had four small kids I was raising, and I
Yeah.
was driving all over the Panhandle because there wasn't a rehabilitator in the High Plains. There was a rehabilitator in Lubbock, but that was the closest one. And so quickly, I was like, okay, I started this in my laundry room when I moved up here. I let Texas Parks and Wildlife know, and then it was in my garage, and then we decided to get a small building in the backyard, a storage building, and then I grew that. And so I was like, God, if this is what you want me to do full time or at a larger capacity, I'm really going to need a building.
Yeah.
So I'm going to need a center.
Yeah. Let me readjust my camera. Okay, there we go. Rolling in the side. So tell me about the center so far. What have you guys been able to do in the community?
Well, we've been very blessed. Next year will be 10 years
Yeah.
since founding the organization. We moved into the rehab center in 2019. So 2016, we were donated a double wide, an older double wide that was used for caliche mining. It was like a business office. We call her Big Bertha. She's a large building. And over the course of 3 years, we renovated her with the help of Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, church groups, and she looks beautiful now. And 3,100 animals come through that building. 1,800 square feet, with the exception. Last month, we were able to finish the completion of an addition onto that building, another 600 square feet with the help of Amarillo National Bank. They had some foundations as well as Phillips 66. So we will expand a little bit, so we're not quite bumping into each other as much.
Yeah. And you talked about the center, how many animals are coming through. Tell me, what does that process kind of look like? How long are they usually in that center?
Well, it depends. During
Yeah.
baby season, if we get squirrels in, we're going to have them 3 to 4 months. If we get opossums in, if they're very very young, same thing. It could be about 3 months, about 1 to 2 pounds in size before we can release them. And then you've got other animals like bobcats. We can have them up to a year before we release. And raccoons, we're looking at 6 to 8 months. So it really just depends. Birds are a lot quicker. Your raptors, like your owls and hawks, they don't stay in care as long. They grow really, really fast and get independent quickly. So we'll have them for usually just up to a month or two.
Yeah. And what people don't know is when these disasters happen in the panhandle, like the wildfires and recently the tornado that happened in Kenya, you guys are also out there helping with the animals.
Absolutely, because wildlife gets affected by that as well.
Yeah.
There weren't actually, with the wildfire that happened, there weren't as many animals that were injured as that we originally thought there would be. They have that sixth sense where they know something's going on, and they're able to get away from it. So we were very blessed to see that. But it was very hard to see, the cattle and the horses and all of them that got affected by it. And there were some deer and some slower moving animals. There were some porcupines that didn't make it. So it's hard to see that in any catastrophe that there is.
And speaking of porcupines, you guys were able to save one of them and take
Yes.
care of one of them for a little bit. Tell me about her story.
Yeah, Cinder was found by the Oregon Forestry Service. They came down because the fires were so vast, they needed help, and they actually found her, and she was still alive. Her quills were burned down pretty far. She did suffer third-degree burns. We found out when we got her in care that she was also pregnant. She was full term. She would have been having the baby within a month or two. I'm not a month or two, but a week or two.
Yeah.
And but sadly, the baby had no heartbeat, so she had to gently pass the baby so that she wouldn't get in an infection. And we had to start working on those third-degree burns, and the community really came together for that. People all over the Panhandle, as well as Texas and other parts of the U.S., joined in watching her heal from those third-degree burns and the lung damage that she had. And it was beautiful to see so many people come together for over a year of her being in care. But ultimately, we did end up losing her about a year and a half after she was found. Because what we didn't know, and our veterinarian didn't either, and some of the specialists we worked with, was that when animals, including people, suffer third-degree burns, it demineralizes the bones, and so it makes them more likely to break bones. And so when she had broke a leg, originally thought, well, maybe in her enclosure, but then once that one was healed and she was in an enclosure that didn't have anything for her to climb up on while she was healing, she broke another bone, and that's when we were like, okay, something else, we're missing something.
Yeah.
And that's where we learned about that even human burn victims with third-degree burns, they could literally be walking into the kitchen and break a femur.
Yeah.
Just because of the toll it takes on the body to heal those burns.
And talk about the connections that are getting made with these animals, not only at your center, but even the community. Like, I know when the porcupine, when you guys mentioned that, so many people were getting emotional in the comments about it and their stories with her.
Yes. Well, education is key, and you can't love what you don't know.
Yeah.
So when we're out on these calls because somebody's got a possum in their yard that just got hit by a car, you're also there to get the animal, but if you can quickly educate on a few facts regarding that animal as well while you're there, it's a win.
Yeah.
Because there's so much misinformation about different wild animals out there, and being able to educate them and get them the right facts and the right information is key.
Yeah.
Because then later on when somebody posts, oh, I've got an opossum in my neighborhood, you start to see people chiming in the community going, oh, they're great. They eat trash. They eat bugs. They eat rodents. You don't have to worry about rabies. It's super rare because of the low body temp. And you're like, my work here is done. It's wonderful, because you want to get the right information out there so we as a community can really steward those animals better.
Yeah. And you touched on the wild animals. Tell me a few of them that can be seen in the center.
We see everything from non-venomous snakes to golden eagles.
Yeah.
So right now we've got a little screech owl that came from Plainview, fixing to be released. We've got 5 little baby bobcat kittens in one litter, and then a singleton bobcat kitten. We also have a porcupine in care that suffered many broken bones. And so every day is a little bit different on what we're going to get in care.
And we were talking, you guys actually work a lot with Texas Tech and their students as well. Tell me, how does that go hand in hand?
So we have a partnership with Texas Tech University School of Veterinary Medicine.
Yeah.
And so their fourth-year students can elect to do rotations through the wildlife center. So they'll come through for 4 weeks at a time and get to help treat any of the wildlife that comes through, do exams. We're checking blood work. We're checking them for parasites and all kinds of things. So they really have to think outside the box with some of these animals, because it's not your typical cats, dogs, or cattle. A lot of these things are very wild and they want to bite us because they don't understand we're trying to help them.
Yeah.
And so it gives them that opportunity to really practice their skills as a veterinarian without having to worry about an owner or somebody that's got limited finances or anything like that, and give these animals a real fighting shot.
And for people who may never heard of the center, how would you describe kind of the work that you guys are doing out there?
We are a nonprofit organization dedicated to rescuing, so that means driving out to go pick them up if they're injured, rehabilitating, and then getting them back out into the wild. They're all God's creatures. We just want to get them back out on their journey. And a lot of times us as humans, we cause that conflict for them. Whether our dogs are attacking an animal, we hit them with a car, we're putting out rodenticides that poison them. There's different things. So I feel like if we are causing a lot of the issues that cause them to be in these situations, we have a responsibility to take care of them and get them back out there.
And talk about a few of the success stories, the animals coming in, being able to get the care that they need and everything, and get back out into the wild.
Well, the screech owl right now that we have in care looked like it was hit by a car. It was found on the side of the road. And we've only had 2 screech owls come through in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Now, when I was a rehabber in Central Texas, we had them all the time, but we don't see them very often in the Panhandle. We're right there on the farthest west region for the eastern screech owl. And they're not much bigger than like a Coke can, but they think they're huge. I mean, they fluff out and they give you a lot of attitude. So with those guys, with this particular one, he wasn't seen well. I mean, you can put your finger right in front of them, and usually they'll track you and move side to side.
Yeah.
There was nothing going on right here. So he was treated for brain swelling and for pain. And after about 3 days, he was starting to eat on his own. And then as he'd see us come in the room, he'd fluff out, start moving side to side and clicking his beak at us. all normal behavior. Now that he's doing better, he's in a larger enclosure where he's flying around, and so he's ready to be released. And because they are monogamous, and a lot of times they mate for life, we want to get him back to the same area he was found,
Yeah.
because you never know. You might have a mate out there going, where is he at? You know, and she needs him back.
Yeah. And back to the Texas Tech students.
Yes.
Why is it important to have the veterinary skills stay right here in the Panhandle?
That's a really good question. I would say the reason why we want to keep them here in the Panhandle is because, well, at least for us, is it's such a learning experience for them, but it is for
Yeah.
us too.
Yeah.
We're learning a lot of neat things by having the veterinary school here, and you know, when they're doing necropsies and things like that, but also for the students. And I know a lot of the students don't always stay right here in the Panhandle. They'll go back to different parts of Texas and sometimes a few other different states, but they're taking those skills that they learned about wildlife with them. And so many areas have no help for wildlife, whether it be a veterinarian or rehabber. So it's so wonderful to see some of these students that have now become veterinarians move on and say, hey, Steph, we are talking to the game warden here, and we're going to be helping with the wildlife here locally. Can you help us? Or if we have questions, can we contact you? And so it's beautiful to see that it all started here, and we seeded that, and but it's carrying on.
Yeah. So you guys have some exciting news about the zoo. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll pick up on that.
Okay, sounds great.
Welcome back, everyone. Stephanie, Wild West, and the zoo have some big things going on. Tell me about it. What can people expect?
Well, we're excited about this. Right now, it's not official yet. We have started, some of our team members, along with myself, has started training over at the zoo, but we're in the contract stage with the city. So we're just wanting to make sure that the city's happy with the contract and that we're also happy with the contract. We would be leasing the land and then running it as a separate nonprofit. So, you know, Wild West would be its own nonprofit, and then Amarillo Zoo and Sanctuary would be its own nonprofit. It just keeps everything clean and separated. And we're not going to take all of our animals at Wild West and go fill up the zoo. You know, the zoo usually has a lot of exotics, although they do have some native animals there. And so we're still in the baby phases.
Yeah.
Nothing's official until it goes to council on January 13th. But I will say the training has been great. And the curator, Berkeley, has been wonderful and very gracious to, you know, inform on all the different procedures and everything that go on there. And the zookeepers there have been great at just accepting us in and throwing us in, you know, to make sure that we're cleaning and seeing the day-to-day procedures and things that are going on. And we've also interviewed some of the team members there for hopeful retention with the zoo.
And you were mentioning after that city council meeting, if it is approved, February is when we could expect some plans. Is that
Yes,
correct? Okay.
February 1st, yes.
Okay. And what happens on February 1st? What does that kind of look
Well,
like?
it just changes owners
Okay.
from the zoo being run by the city to the zoo being run by the nonprofit.
Perfect. And Stephanie, tell me, where does your love for animals really come from?
It has to be a God thing, because
Yeah.
I'll tell you, like in my family, I was that weird child. You know, my mom was like, why is she bringing home all these toads? Like, what's wrong here? Or, you know, I loved catching bees and looking at bees, and I'd have stings, and I just loved nature, and I'd run through the creeks and ask for a microscope at a young age. So I'd like to say, oh, there was, you know, somebody in my family who really instilled that in me, and it really, you know, grew as I got older, but it really wasn't. I've always loved animals. And, you know, I would say that most people in the field of helping animals truly care about the well-being of the animals. And I feel that way about the people that are at the zoo as well.
Yeah.
They want to see the animals have larger enclosures and more enrichment and more help. And so that's kind of what brings us together on this mission.
And you mentioned we have porcupines, owls, and a bunch of different animals. Animals that people could kind of seem scary or don't want to approach.
Yes.
Tell me about educating them and letting them know these animals aren't as scary as they seem.
Oh, it's such a game changer.
Yeah.
Let's talk about porcupine, okay?
Right.
People see a porcupine and they're like, oh no, it's going to shoot me with quills. But they actually don't shoot quills.
Yeah.
They slam their tail down, and then they'll move it side to side in a real jerky motion.
Okay.
And so that loosens up the quills. And so wherever the quills land is where they land. They kind of just disperse out. And so they're not going to say, hey, princess, I'm going to get 2 quills right between the eyes. They can't do that.
Yeah.
So it's just, that is the way that God made them. That is their defense. They have about 30,000 quills. They have a natural antibiotic in their skin that protects them. So, they're very slow moving. So if they didn't have that great armor of quills, they would just be a really easy snack for larger predators. So that really, really protects them. And we always tell people too, if you have a dog and it comes back with a face full of quills, it's actually made contact with that porcupine, because no porcupine can shoot their quills and get all those in the face. So the animal had to have made contact. So you've likely got an injury on the porcupine, and then the dog is also injured. It's a no-win for either one of them. So letting people know that, they're like, they understand it better, and that goes back to the whole thing, you can't love what you don't know.
Yeah.
Now that you know, you're better educated to make a decision in how you want to handle that.
And you mentioned you guys rescue a lot of animals. Let's say somebody's driving along the road, they see that one of these animals got hit, or after a natural disaster, something happened. How can they reach out to you guys? What are the next steps?
The best thing is to call us or text us at 806-680-2483, and we will get a team member out there to help. That is the quickest way. Even after hours, if it's an emergency, they can text us and we can walk them through what to do.
And winter is quickly approaching.
Yes.
Tell me, what does winter look like over at the center? How do you prepare the animals for it?
Well, right now is our slower time, but what we're seeing is all the babies from baby season are now teenagers, juveniles. So they're trying to adult on their own, just like our own teen kids. So we'll get a lot more raptors, because, about 80% of raptors don't make it to age 2. So you've only got 20% of them that are surviving. And they're having a hard time with the elements changing, like snow and ice and wind and all of that. So we're going to get a lot more of them in. In fact, in the last week, we pulled an owl out of a grill of a car, and we've pulled a hawk out of the grill of a car.
Wow.
And both of them were juveniles. So, they're still learning how to hunt. And then as the storms and things like that start moving in, or heavy snow, if they haven't found a place to den up and they're still trying to figure that out, they can get into people's garages or backyards, and we're getting those phone calls. So right now, I call it rescue season. That's technically what we're getting into now. Whereas earlier in the late spring and the summer, we're in baby season.
Yeah. And when we are starting to get that heavy snow and stuff, what can people kind of look for to see if a wild animal did get into their garage, like you said, or the grill of their car and stuff like that?
They just call us and we will come out. Some of us like the cold more than others. I like the cold. But we have team members that are like, you can go ahead and go on that call. And but we'll still come out there and do it and rescue them. And we pay special attention to major weather events like ice storms or heavy snow. We let the community know that it's okay to have up temporary shelters outside. We're not trying to get people to feed the wildlife and keep them around, but there are times when you can help your wild neighbor out and have some shelter, especially if you got big snow drifts, really cold temperatures and things like that. And also continue to feed the birds during the winter. And keep those bird feeders cleaned every 2 weeks, but continue to feed them, because when they're getting the food in, it's actually helping to heat their body, keeps the calories going and everything moving.
And if people want to come out to your center, they want to volunteer, or they want to get a better idea what you guys do, how can they do so?
Well, every year in spring, we will do a volunteer fair. And we'll post it on social media. Usually it's in March. And they can fill out an application, and then they'll come that day, and we'll kind of divide everybody up by what they're excited about doing or interested in doing, or even what their skills are. Because you'd be surprised, some people love wild animals but don't want to actually help with them, but they don't mind helping with admin stuff. And we love that too. And so if they'll just watch our social media, we'll post about that. And we also do tours of our education center, which is separate from our rehab center. And that we do those tours every Friday, and then during like the holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas, we have extended times. We do tours as well.
And talking about your education center, what can people kind of expect when they're walking through there?
Well, those are education ambassadors. So those are animals that cannot be released. And there's about 8 of them. So, we've got Lincoln the fox, we've got Stella the opossum, Polly the badger, just to name a few. And those guys are all non-releasable. Lincoln was raised by people, so he is very much imprinted on people, would not do well being released. And Polly the badger was raised by another rehabber in Oklahoma. She came to us to wild up with one of ours. When we went to go release, she just kept running back and kept running back. And she just is not a wild badger. We want her to be a wild badger, but it was
Yeah.
just not going to happen. And now she's going on 6 years old. And even when we put her outside in her outdoor enclosure, she'll scratch at the door.
Yeah.
And then we open the door and she runs in and she opens up her enclosure and goes right inside. So yeah, she's a bougie badger for sure. So they will get to meet some of our education ambassadors, learn about that species, what they
Okay.
do in the wild, what they eat, and things like that.
Yeah. And if the community wants to support the mission and all the work that you guys are doing at the center, how can they go about that?
They can go to wildwestwildlife.com and there's a donate button there, as well as on our Facebook page. We run on donations. That's what keeps our doors open. And so we're grateful for every donation that comes through.
And finally, you said it's going to be 10 years very soon for you guys.
I know. I can't believe it.
When you first opened this center, did you think it would get to this point?
No, when I moved to Amarillo, I came kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I'm from Central Texas. Well, I'm from Iowa, but I lived in Central Texas for 14 years before moving up here. And it was flat and there weren't a lot of trees. And I thought, and I missed all my friends. And I never knew that God's plan was what it was going to be.
Yeah.
If somebody would told me 10 years ago, you're going to move to Amarillo and you're going to build a rehab center and you're going to have the most amazing team and be blessed with such an amazing community. We really do have a beautiful community up here.
Yeah.
And our social media community as well. I never would have believed you. I always just thought it was something I would do from home with my veterinary technician skills, and but it was much bigger than I thought. So it's neat to look back on and just remind you to dream bigger. It really does. No matter what that is and what you specialize in, dream bigger because God doesn't have a budget.
Yeah. All right. Well, Stephanie, that is everything. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.